Good morning. This is Dwight, and thank you for joining me for the reading of Christ's letters. I go back and forth between night and morning because it's morning, but when our Christ Way community got together Tuesday night, it's nighttime. And they're with me, and with us. So I'll tell you where we're beginning if you'd like to read along. And I have 6 versions to read from. I have an electronic where I can find the stuff. The paragraph you're looking for begins with, I'm going to read the whole sentence, but focus on when, therefore, therefore, the human intellect, in case you're searching on electronically. When, therefore, the human intellect is able to set aside such limited beliefs and ascend into contact with the reality behind the highest human reasoning, logic, and relationships, which I term knowledge, such a mind enters the highest spheres of life consciousness. Wow. And Christ really takes us on this ride tonight, this morning. So if you're reading from Christ Returns, Reveals Startling Truth, it's page 338, the bottom paragraph. If you're reading from Christ Returns, Speaks His Truth, the first edition of that, first printing, is page 386 at the bottom also. If you're reading from the ebook, it's page 299, paragraph 4. If you're reading from the original text, it's first numbered labeled letter 6 instead of letter 8. So the original manuscripts were numbered differently. So that's page 5 and paragraph 3. The first draft after the original is page 4, paragraph 3. And if it's a second draft after the original, and we don't know what that one's going to be, do we? Because this is the one that I copied, but they keep changing the format keeps changing, so pages keep changing. All contain this very same information and the same wording and the same format. So if it's a second draft, which is one I attached to my email, chapelinthesky@aol.com, so you can always follow along with that one. That one is page 247, paragraph 3. Even though the letters are individual, the numbering was consistent before the final draft. They decided to do it as numerical numbers the way we would expect to see them instead of a 3 and a 3A and a 4A and a 4B. They decided to just go 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, okay? So let's just take a time. For me, you was in this beautiful meditative state before, hoping that when I finish this, I will have the opportunity to do a YouTube on evolution. Very, very powerful. So I begin by breathing deeply. You have your own way to make that connection. I take deep breaths. And I go into my mind and claim to be still and silent, have no thought. And in this space, there's extreme serenity, peace, calm, an underlying joy, and an openness to hear with this higher consciousness of myself, of each of us. As we reach out to that higher consciousness, we all receive that higher consciousness. As we come together in this oneness, our consciousness becomes one, unified for a perfect communication to go directly to where this life of us begins, the idea of us, to the creator of us and our affairs, our emotions, our bodies, all that we attract, all that we repel, So during this time, we allow our mind, our intellect, our ideas, our imagination to go higher, receive higher thoughts and understanding. So the more godlike we become, the more godlike we create. We bring forth love and peace and joy, serenity, calm on earth. This is why Christ has come, to awaken us, to nurture and nourish us, to be all that we're meant to be, to live as spirit in human form, in a spiritual world, in form. I'm so grateful for this time and for our coming together. We both are blessed because the Christ, that pure, perfect part of us, that God essence of us, that perfect idea for us and our purpose in this world, in our own life, all that's within us. We just have to get all the junk out of the way and let it come forth. And Christ assists us in removing the junk and allowing the light to grow brightly from within, dispelling the darkness of ignorance of who we truly are. And for both of us and all of us, I give a great big thank you to the universe for reminding us. Thankful to Christ consciousness for coming in 2000 AD. And before that, preparing his recorder for his transmissions. We are so grateful. Our world is better because of this. And every day, every now, every one of us bring this change forth. The era of love and peace and joy. Truly heaven on earth right here, right now. As we see it, it is done. As we believe it, it is done. As we trust it, it is done. As we be it, it is done. So just allow this vibration to continue through this time. This connected energy of one. Knowing the physical and the consciousness of one. And this is what Christ gives to us through this reading, is to move beyond the seeming low egoic consciousness of man into the higher consciousness of us, human, which is spirit man. So I was going to pause, but I'm not going to. We collective bring forth this meditation. I just want to thank you for that, for your participation in it, for our receptivity to it, and our knowing that this is the truth. Okay. We read quite a bit last Tuesday. So we'll see how the time goes for us, but I will read the whole thing. You can stop this anytime and then pick it up again. When therefore the human intellect is able to set aside such limited beliefs, and we don't even have to know what those are, we just know we have limited beliefs. It's part of our humanhood. And ascend into contact with the reality. If you're just listening without reading, that is bolded, italicized, and in quotes, single quotes. Christ says this is a reality I'm talking about beyond beyond the reality that I believe. So ours is to ascend into contact with the reality beyond the highest human reasoning, the highest human logic, and the highest human relationships. Oh, I'm sorry, rationalizations. Yeah, rationalizations. That's what brings us a lot of the intellect does all that rationalizing. The spirit just knows, just is. Okay, so we want to get beyond our limited beliefs into the higher beliefs, which is life consciousness. It is imbued with universal truth, which is literally beyond the scope of the normal human mind, even to perceive or accept or even understand. The human mind cannot understand any experience beyond that of the electromagnetic parameters of earthly existence. Now, we don't think in electromagnetic parameters, we think in cause and effect, things happening. So this is what Christ is talking about. But he's talking of it as an energy, so we understand it as energy instead of form. You know, Christ says nothing is solid. Science has proven nothing is solid. Quantum physics proves nothing is solid. So back in the day, 2019 years ago, they believed everything was solid. So now it's being proven. So this thing of evolution that's been playing in the back of my mind is evolving from ignorance to where we are today. At one time, I was thinking back, 78 years ago was when television was first, not even probably being mass produced, but at least being produced by several companies. So I remember the first television for me was in 1947, around age 7. And then I look at, from that time, 1947 to, let's say, sometime in the 60s, the Walkman came out, you know, where you could have your music right with you, or your talk right with you, you know, you didn't have to be sitting still in a room or whatever. And then now we have that on our phone. We have that recording device where we can listen to music or talk, and we have a whole computer with it. We have access to the internet. I mean, it's just amazing. So what this evolution is about is we see how human has been evolving, and yet human consciousness still at the same level of 2019 years ago of the earth is flat, the earth is solid. You know, we weren't aware. Today we're aware there's an idea before every action. Nothing to begin without there first being an idea. So this is what Christ is saying here. To ascend into this higher consciousness is to ascend from a deeper consciousness, the truth of us, to ascend so that we can live as the creator of our bodies and our affairs, instead of being the victim of it. Instead of being the created, we are the creator, consciously creating, consciously aware that we're creating. So this is why this is so important to me, because world peace, December 31st, 2019, before that, okay? So this life consciousness is imbued with universal truth, which is literally beyond the scope of normal human mind to perceive or accept or understand. So we have to go beyond. We have to believe, I don't know everything yet, you know. We have been told this is a truth, and this truth that they hold us in is limiting us from the infinity that we're meant to be. We are meant to be spirit being. We are meant to be human spirit beings, okay? To the point where we become beings, and man is no longer available to us, okay? And that's beyond, but this is what, to me, this is what ascension is. This is what we can have on our world. We can have these spirit forms. We can have these, as an example now, put any name to it you want, including your own. We can have these Jesus Christ all around our world. We all could be living that, because all it is getting in touch with that within us. It's the truth of us. And as the trees all live in harmony with one another in their diversity, so can we humans all live together in our diversity if we listen to that one mind that guides and directs the purpose and idea that we all came with, the pure one, not the man-made one. The human mind cannot understand any experience beyond that of the electromagnetic parameters of earthly existence and the functions of the brain until divine consciousness enlightenment enters the entire human system of mind, emotions, and subconsciousness. Until divine consciousness enlightenment enters the entire human system of mind, emotions, and subconsciousness. Then the underlying unity and harmony is revealed. Then I recognize that the God without, the God within is one God. The Christ universal, the Christ individualized is one Christ. And as we come together in this community of you're expressing Christ in your way, I'm expressing Christ in my way, Christ just says, thank you for expressing Christ, you know? So, and altogether, new spiritual perceptions are presented to a religiously indoctrinated mind. This is what we're trying to expand beyond religiosity. Christ said, I haven't come for a new religion. I've come to empower and encourage and support all religions to find the truth of who they and we really are. Okay. To find what does it mean for God to be omni, everywhere present, all-knowing, all-powerful, the only intelligence, all-loving, infinite possibilities to express itself. What does this all mean? But we have to go outside of our box of God as a body, a big body like a magician, doing all these things instead of there's a natural law to the way that God, unconscious, becomes conscious and expresses that as form. And that's just a summarization of all that I've gotten from these letters anyway. So now Christ is talking to those of us who are very steeped in our religion, but open to maybe it's not all there is. So I've come to these letters inquisitive, inquiring. Is this truth or is what I believe truth? And I'm at least open to see if these letters resonate with me. So, when altogether new spiritual perceptions are presented to a religiously indoctrinated mind, these are perceived as being from Satan or sheer lunacy or imagination. This is natural, since when the emotions are severely aroused and challenged, as happens when deep beliefs are contradicted, the magnetic emotional bonding rejection impulses of the ego drive immediately come into action, immediately come to defend what I believe. So the scriptures are going to come in and everything to keep that belief alive. Any thesis. Any thesis or proposal which causes the conditioned mind acute mental discomfort, dismay, or puzzlement, it will be rejected instantly, and a whole barrage of proofs will be summoned up from the beliefs in the conditioned mind to back up such rejection. But the proofs are merely beliefs. Am I satisfied with the beliefs I have? Great. Are there better beliefs? Are there bigger beliefs? Can I be happier? Can I be better supported? Can I be more loving? Then I'm open to more beliefs. This is an entirely natural mental emotional process within the purely human dimension. Therefore, if this, my truth, is offered to those whose mindsets are firmly established and conditioned by fear or strengthened by the human will to adhere to such programmed beliefs, it is only natural that the truth will arouse unruly emotions and be quite violently, possibly virulently, rejected. The foregoing is a description of normal mental emotional activity within the human mind. So accept that. You know, this is where we're coming from. As we know better, we do better. If that's the best I knew then it's the best I knew then. So this foregoing description of normal mental behavior activity is normal within the human consciousness. It should not be criticized, since a conditioned mind is made to feel completely insecure and adrift or all at sea when confronted with an entirely new concept. These human idioms describe exactly what happens when an indoctrinated mind is challenged by an entirely new perception of what was previously held to be so dear, so safe, so right. And Christ gives permission for the people who don't believe in these letters to just not even read them. You know, if they're causing great conflict and you want to stay with the way that it is, that's fine. Christ is just here for those that are saying, I think there's something better. When first reading these letters, you can determine for yourselves where you stand mentally and emotionally. Are you blocked from spiritual progress by your stubborn adherence to present beliefs? Are you able, after due thought, to realize that as you are so sturdily upholding is only belief, irrational beliefs? I'm sorry, I didn't read that correctly, I stumbled. Are you able, after due thought, to realize that all you are so sturdily upholding is only a belief, perhaps an irrational belief? It is absolutely vital to your spiritual development that you should at long last fully understand the principles of your human mind and emotional functioning. How the two work together. You think you do, but you do not understand it at all. Now I ask us, I know that this is where I've been, this is not where I am, so partake of this, I use this sometimes to say, I used to be that way, now I'm different, now I'm growing, now I'm open easily, and every time I go through the letters since 2006, they just go deeper and deeper and deeper. So I apologize for that. Because I think it's important to recognize our understanding is increasing. We are becoming more patient with our world. We're becoming more open with events in the world as seeing them as bringing us to the end of life, but they are instrumental in bringing us into the fullness of life, bring us into the spiritual awakening that humanity needs, not on a individual organizational scale, but on a all people of our earth scale, to live whatever religion we want to live, but to honor one another's and to honor that God essence in everyone who's doing the best they know how. Okay, so you can only understand it by coming out of it entirely, out of our old belief system. So we've got to be willing to evolve. We've got to be willing to come out of our cocoon as we see the butterfly or the moth come from its cocoon. Went in as a worm or a pretty beautiful caterpillar or an ugly caterpillar, however we want to define it, and come out this beautiful or ugly moth or butterfly, however we describe it. But that transformation is what we're going through now. This is the ascension of the human mind, moving us from the limited belief system into the Christ conscious belief system that's available for us right here and right now. In fact, it's already within us. It is who we are. That's all. Christ is just coming, awakening, and revealing. Okay, so we can only understand something greater by coming out of the lesser. We've got to quit saying, oh, that's Satan, or that's bad, or that doesn't fit my truth, instead of I'm going to open my truth to a higher truth. So you can only understand it by coming out of it entirely, transcending it, moving into higher dimensions of perception and experience, entering into the truth itself. And see, that for me is where meditation takes us, where we release anything, any limitations whatsoever. It's like meditation I have is I put myself at the center of the universe and erase all the stars and everything, so it's just the nothingness in me. And I erase my body also. And then I bring my body back in, but I had an idea of what my body looked like. And I believe this is the way creation process works. At least how it comes into the form. How it does that, I have no idea, except I know that I'm telling it the form to take with my belief system. And that's why Christ has come, to bring us into the truth of us, and to, once, think of the transition from the world is flat to the world is round. I mean, the people who were saying that the world was round had a lot of discomfort in their lifestyle. They were ridiculed, they were punished, they were locked up, some were killed brutally because of their anti-belief system. And it's the same today with God, when people kind of want to bring truth out, look at the untruth side that does all this to squelch it, to try to kill it, to stop it. And the truth is always going to come out. Okay. So I'm sorry for this. I'm really tuned in. When I previewed this, because I thought, okay, what am I reading tonight? And then I remembered what we read last Tuesday. It's like, wow, there was so much that didn't get said. But there's a part of this that moves very quickly. So I hope I'm not interrupting your train of thought, because my goal is to bring forth, to amplify what Christ is saying in these words. To bring the purity as I know it, and to, I wish that you were physically with me, because as the Tuesday night, we interact with each other and we share these ideas back and forth. There are many people who believe wholeheartedly that if they pray for a certain object or experience, or the bestowal of the right guidance in a certain situation, they will truly receive the right object, experience, or guidance which will enhance their well-being. They believe that if their prayer is answered, they will wholeheartedly rejoice and immediately follow the lead, irrespective of present conditions, because coming from the divine, it can only be the right answer, conducive to happiness. And this tongue-in-cheek is, as I'm reading this anyway, I feel Christ is, because he's saying there are two types of belief. There's an intellectual belief that makes things work if I don't have enough working against it. But then there's that intuitive belief, that knowing belief, that when we ask these things, there's no effort in it, there's no willing to it. It's just an automatic becoming one with, and that one becoming the form, okay, the experience. Okay, so that's one side of belief, the intellectual belief. However, when faced with the arrival of the longed-for object or experience or guidance, the recipient of divine grace sometimes becomes so disturbed and disoriented, unable to accept that there has been an intrusion of divine consciousness exactly as asked for, that she does not know how to deal with it. We have this underlying, for many Americans anyway, the more that I talk to people and the more that I experience it, there's this underlying of unworthiness we've been born into. That's the sin, to tell us that we're not worthy. Wow, that's the original sin. Because that baby is pure spirit. And then we get to mold it, shape it. So, if minds are so disturbed when what they have asked for is actually given them in an unexpected way, where is the true faith and belief, which they were so certain they wholly possessed in abundance? See, they're giving the lucky to it. You know, they put it out, they receive it, and it's like, wow, I can't imagine that happen, so they can't imagine it happening. They can't accept it from what I've asked for is what I've received. There's that fear of having that much power or belief in us, that understanding. Do you not also see that belief, not truth, has orchestrated the whole symphonic movement, with the exception, of course, of the divine consciousness intervention, the answer to the prayer? This intervention is the only reality in the whole procedure, the one that's not getting credit for it, the invisible. You know. The rest is belief and hope, mental gymnastics using past experiences by which to measure the present. Your only truth is divine consciousness, which leads only to growth and perfection, if you fully trust it to do so. Pause here and read and reread the foregoing paragraphs, because what goes on in your consciousness is the fabric of your experiences in lives, okay? I am going to read it. I didn't do it Tuesday night. I was going to say you could go back here, but I've had so much interruption in it. So I'll read this straight through because I've already, but Christ encourages us to go back. So I'm going to go back to, well, if you're reading, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs above begins with, there are many people. There are many people who believe wholeheartedly that if they pray for a certain object or experience, or the bestowal of the right guidance in a certain situation, they will truly receive the right object, the right experience, and the right guidance, which will enhance their well-being. They believe that when, if, and that doubt is in a lot, sorry. They believe that when, if their prayer is answered, they will wholeheartedly rejoice and immediately follow the lead, irrespective of present conditions, because coming from the divine, it can only be the right answer, conducive to happiness. However, when faced with the arrival of the longed-for object or experience or guidance, the recipient of divine grace sometimes becomes so disturbed and disoriented, unable to accept that there has been an intrusion of divine consciousness exactly as asked for that she does not know how to deal with it. If minds are so disturbed when what they have asked for is actually given them in an unexpected way, where is the true faith and belief, which they were so certain they wholly possessed in abundance? Do you not also see that belief, not truth, has orchestrated the whole symphonic movement, with the exception, of course, of the divine consciousness intervention, the answer to the prayer? This intervention is the only reality in the whole procedure. The rest is belief and hope, mental gymnastics using past experiences by which to measure the present. Your only truth is divine consciousness, which leads only to growth and perfection, if you fully trust it to do so. And it says pause, and we've done that, so I will continue. So question yourselves, do you really perceive, realize, understand, this is all uppercase and bolded, the reality of being as a source of all knowledge and creativity? Or do you merely pay lip service and superficial mental acknowledgement to divine consciousness? Christ challenges us through the following pages in healthy ways, just to help us question where we are with our belief system and opening to the higher? Do you fully and completely live minute by minute in the realization that universal consciousness is the only reality and highest intelligence operational within creation? Do you consistently depend on its supremely effective guidance? Or do you think that you would rather live by your own finite will and sometimes muddled emotional impulses? Do you fully and completely live minute by minute? Whew, that's a tall order, isn't it? But this is the goal of the soul, is to be so reconnected with its the idea of it, the universality of it, that consciousness connection affects the form of it. Okay, it's like I'm the soul expressing in form, and it's expressing what I believe myself to be. But then as I listen to, but what is the soul? What does the creator of me say? What is the creator's idea of me? When I listen to that, and that's what Christ is doing here. Christ is feeding that, nourishing that, so it becomes stronger and stronger in my intellectual mind, where it's like, wow, and now my intellectual mind is used the way it's meant to be used, as a tool to discern and create consciously this world we have. You know, it's our consciousness that's created our houses, not a physical being. You know, that's just what differentiates us from nature. You know, we can think, we can plan, we can execute, we can remember. We have more ideas available to us than, let's say, the tree has. What other ideas could a tree have but to be the tree that it is? And we can say the same of the human being. What can I be more than I can be? Except now I've got in touch that I can be more than an animal with 4 legs, or an upright animal with 2 legs and 2 arms. Or, you know, because that's what I could be. I could still be living just like the squirrels in my backyard, fending for myself, taking from nature. But no, I have allowed my consciousness, I've listened to my God consciousness, my higher consciousness that says, you can do this, like, wow, and then gives me everything I need. And if I don't have the tools yet, I create the tools so that I can have what I need. So, and this is what this is all about. And I apologize, and I just really feel Christ with me in this time. It's probably because of our Tuesday night group. And now with you as well, because I bring our group to you. And if you are given direct guidance to follow a certain lead, but stop to think whether the guidance is leading you where you think you want to go, are you fully surrendered to the highest intelligent authority, divine consciousness? Okay, here I can go this way, I want to go this way. Which one am I going to listen to? It's available in both decisions, so I can't make a wrong decision. But which one is going to be the easier road? Which is going to be the one that's going to help me create the me and the world that I want to have and live in? Even these letters, when circulated as intended, okay, the intention is to get these letters out. So you can get the letters at www.christs, CHRISTS, way, no space, .co.za. You can get them for free and download them and read them, and you can send them to your friends. This is Christ's greatest longing, is for these letters to get out. So if you don't have a copy, get a copy, even if it's only electronic and you read it, or you can get, they also have it recorded so you can listen to them. So yeah, if you need information, Chapel in the Sky at AOL.com, and I can lead and guide you to many other resources. So even these letters, when circulated as intended, will come to be beliefs, not the pure spiritual perception of what is, out of which these words have come. And so this is important. The recorder has, and Christ has put forth a guideline, expected guideline that he expects me to follow every day to be part of Christ's way. The recorder has a certain, I'm just going to call it a ritual, I don't know, format, that's the right word. She has a format for conducting the Christ way communities. I don't listen to any of that. I listen to Christ within me because I am not dependent on these words. I'm dependent on what these words reveal from within me. And that's what I'm sharing with you. My opinions are my opinions and the way that I'm reading it. If you're on our Tuesday night call and you read something differently, you could bring that to my attention, and then we as a community have another concept to work with. So our Tuesday community is really working on ascending ourselves. You know, we're working on being angels with one wing, helping each other to fly. So, so Christ is not encouraging us to learn literally these words as so many people do with the Bible. He wants us to always be getting the pure spiritual perception of the truth that these words reveal. He doesn't want that to ever be lost. That's why he doesn't want a religion. That's why he's talking about small communities, because large communities demand organization and structure, and small communities design our own community, you know, our own nature. And we have that freedom on Tuesday night call, which are in all the Christ way communities, because Christ is about freedom, not restrictive dogma and so forth. Okay. So here's what Christ is saying. And that's why I'm so talkative. Only by taking these words into meditation, after asking for spiritual illumination, will the spiritual reality behind the words eventually come like a shaft of light into the mind. Moody Blues have a song about that. A beam of light will fill your mind, and you'll remember all that's been said by all those before. When this happens, you will know that you know. So here's the thing, to always be meditating, you know, and we don't have to meditate sitting down and quiet, eyes closed, or with music or anything. We can be meditating with everything we are doing. We can be meditating in the chaos around us. You know, there is nothing that can prevent us from meditating except to allow the chaos to distract us from our connection with the stillness and silence. Those of you and those of us, I'm going to say, there's a lot I want us to take as personal, because for us, you know, we've been with this for a long time now, and it's embodying. So for those of us who have evolved sufficiently to live in two dimensions, I'm aware of my physical being, I'm aware of my spiritual being, and I'm aware of me in the middle who makes the choice. Those of us who have evolved sufficiently to live in two dimensions, we whose mind can move beyond the realm of human intellect into the higher dimension of universal reality, will probably encounter many people in time to come who may reject these letters as imagination, but do not be dismayed. And I can't be dismayed if I allow it. You know, and Christ is telling me, don't let that bother you. Remember, what I am telling you now, you are residents of two dimensions, and none may pass beyond the dimension of mere intellect until the prerequisites to spiritual enlightenment have been fulfilled. It's like graduating from classes in school, grade school into college. These are a true spiritual awakening, these prerequisites of enlightenment. These are true spiritual awakening, leading to deep insight into the activities of the ego and selfhood, followed by remorse, remorse, remorse. This is the only way. For remorse, in turn, leads to the rejection of the magnetic emotional dimension of rejection bonding, which in its more virulent forms humans ascribe to sin. So I've read this, understood this many times this morning. I read this and said, I'm not understanding this remorse. So let me share with you what I got this morning. This morning when I went into it, I thought about what is it saying? Well, Christ is saying that we come to this place in a spiritual consciousness. It's like, wow, this is so beautiful. I'm so loving. And then I look back on my life and I say, oh, I did a lot of bad things back then, And so I feel remorse about that. I feel sad or wish I hadn't done those things or whatever. But when I look at them, I say, if I hadn't done those things, I wouldn't be where I am now. So all those things, as I look back, all have become very growth stones for me to be where in who I am. But Christ is saying, but when we go back, we look back and we feel remorse. We feel remorse and we want to undo that. So this is where forgiveness comes in. Forgiveness takes us through that transition of looking back and feeling that I've been bad or done bad things or hurt people or whatever. That's where forgiveness comes in. The remorse is that. And now, but let's come back into our ascended state of being where there is no guilt, there is no wrongdoing, there's only perfection and wholeness and goodness. And so we use forgiveness for this. And we forgive ourselves for whatever we've done. We forgive ourselves to what we've done to others. And we forgive ourselves for even believing what we believed back then when we did it, because we were only acting from our beliefs. For me, the shortcut to forgiveness, which is a lot of work for me, used to be, is the word acceptance, which is pure love. Pure love is acceptance, just be and let be, let it be. What's done is done. Now we start anew from this place forward. And so this is part, and when we get to that, so when I've gone through my remorse period and I'm going through my forgiveness and acceptance period, the person begins to realize and eventually know that the human ego drive to look out for herself actually shuts the soul off from the continuous inflow of divine life. So I have to overcome my remorse. Again, I overcome it by coming into the Father, coming into my spiritual awareness, taking it to the Father and ask, what do I do with this? And Father shows me how to love it, how to accept it, how to not let it bring me down, but to help me, through me, help bring the situation up. Okay? So we can live in that state of acceptance. We can live in the state of unconditional love where, and it's work. I mean, it is work, but it gets to be fun because something, some horror comes through the news and it's like, oh my God, it's like, oh my God. And I open myself and say, show me the good in this. That's how I challenge the Father. Say, show me the good in this. And then I quiet myself and I listen. And in that meditative state, which I encourage us all to do, Father will bring forth something. And if it doesn't, do it again, do it again. Yeah, don't let it bring us down. The worst thing we can do is judge our own thoughts. The book Illusions, one of my favorite Bibles of my reading, says the original sin is to limit the is. Don't. Boom. That's it. The original sin is to limit the is. Don't. And that's what Christ is telling us. I talk of Christ as if I'm talking about a body, and I'm talking it as I see Jesus, because I've always seen Jesus this way. Not Jesus the man, but Jesus the Christ of the man, the Father, the real teacher and healer. Okay, so when a person penetrates the spiritual dimension and is imbued with life characteristics, the person begins to realize and eventually know that the human ego drive to look out for the self, in quotes, actually shuts the soul off from the continuous inflow of divine life into the mind, heart, body, relationships, and daily experiences of the form, of the entity, of us, of you and me. Looking out for yourself is a human earthly experience. Total, sincere surrender of the selfhood to Father Life removes the block between the spiritual dimension and the soul, becoming one. Okay, the soul individualized within the spiritual dimension. Okay, the block that keeps that in place is removed when we realize there is no division. The one I am is from the one that is. So total, sincere surrender of the selfhood to Father Life removes the block between the spiritual dimension and the soul. A person no longer has to look out for himself. All the divine life is now flows into the individual's body, mind, heart, experiences, and relationships. Such a person lives by instinct, intuition, and follows hunches which always work out perfectly in the long term. Divine life is always there to be accessed whenever the person surrenders self-will and turns to it for every need. You must remember that I am referring to the time when you penetrate the human dimension of intellect and move beyond your reliance on intellect and material means to get you what you want out of life. Many people think they have reached this place of spiritual development, but are deluding themselves. And we only know that by life's experiences. When a person abandons logic and knows beyond all doubt that guidance can be utterly relied upon to achieve inspired goals, your life changes. Benefits flow into your experiences when you fully realize that divine consciousness is the unseen reality, the power at work behind the outer appearances of your life, moving intelligent energy force to manifest your needs. You do not have to deny appearances. Pour thought power into a condition you are seeking to resolve. All you have to do is surrender self-will and know that as your limited intellect yields, so does the infinite reality move in to order your life in an altogether new way. Infinite reality weans you away from all your supports of the past. Infinite reality brings to your mind a new vision for new endeavor. And infinite reality leads you into new areas of activity. As this happens, you have to be prepared to let go completely. And this is all the Dalai Lama and all the wise, all the masters that we see in our world. That's all they do is they have connected. And we are all examples to one another of doing this and how beautiful life becomes. The tree isn't worried about being fed. It's not worried about even dying. I don't believe the tree thinks about dying. And we can live that way too. We can be totally ignorant of, that we're going to die. We know it because of the way we've developed our particular consciousness for all humanity. Now, the whole human race is at this level of consciousness. The whole human race in the day of the caveman was at that consciousness. The day of Jesus, we're at that level of consciousness. Now, many, and this is going to be my challenge, because Christ challenges the Christians all the time, but Christians are still in that consciousness of Jesus' life 2,000 years ago. But the Christ has evolved in our consciousness. We have this movement called New Thought that's recognizing what these letters are saying. This is a part of New Thought because it's all about I am God in expression. That's all it is. And it's nurturing that belief and honoring that belief and seeing the results of that belief. You have to release your grip on these securities of the past and know that even greater securities of a different nature await you as you follow your inspiration. Now, there's a safety that people feel in locking their doors, okay? They feel it keeps crime out. Thumb and I feel we don't need protection, that the energy that we are, the consciousness we are, surrounds and incorporates itself in everything that we are. And we're not attached to anything that we are. You know, we've had our things removed from our cars on occasion. Doesn't make us lock them. You know, we don't live in that fear. We know it's, but wherever you're getting that safety is important. But Christ is saying that we're going to be having new areas of activity that are going to challenge us. And if we're challenged, if we feel unsafe not having the doors locked, for goodness sake, keep those doors locked. You know, I'm not saying that my way is any better, because I can have my doors locked and have that same peace of mind. You know, we've moved into an apartment. We found that if we don't lock our car at night, that things are taken, not vandalized or anything. So at nighttime, I lock the doors on the car, because mischievous kids come through the parking lots, and I guess if the door's unlocked and there's something there, they're going to take it. I don't see that as, you know, I just see that as not something to be afraid of. And we lock our doors for the apartment at the same time when we go to bed at night, just in case there's someone who's looking for an entrance into a doorway. We're saying not this one, you know, not out of fear, you know, that's not for protection. It's just, you know, a common sense. We're led to do that. The rest of the time, no locks. So it's an evolution, and we can't go faster than we believe we can. So always, you know, we're always open. We're always open. The world will come. The time will come before December 31st, 2019, where we don't have to feel we have to lock doors anymore. That can happen in the year. You know, all it takes is you and me and passing it on. Since the state of spiritual human existence and harmonious well-being depend entirely on a person's ability to make true contact with divine reality through meditation again, it is imperative to return again and again to an in-depth study of divine reality itself. And that's all through meditation. And again, I'm meditating as I'm talking. I'm meditating as I'm reading. I'm meditating as I'm doing anything. I'm meditating as I'm moving my hands. Okay, so it is imperative to return again and again to an in-depth study of divine reality itself and the way in which the ego drive is ceaselessly at work within the human consciousness, blocking out the intuitive directions of divine life within the mind. And the feelings always tell us when we're out of sync. You know, that's why it's so important to be aware of my solar plexus, what's going on, because my feelings are telling me what I'm thinking. If my feelings are uptight, I've got to look at what I'm thinking, okay? So it can be an indicator to go to what I'm thinking. And is this a thought I want to create? Is there a higher thought? Meditate, Father, come into this situation and show me what to do. Okay, so we enter into divine consciousness, as I just said, and allowing it to permeate and gladden my thinking and life experiences. I remain locked within the mental emotional framework of electromagnetic impulses until I set my willpower to consciously dissolving the fabric of my humanly conceived beliefs and come to see clearly that my reality is divine consciousness, not my family or my bank book. As I achieve this insight, I enter into the light, and the light abides in and through me. This is the way I read. I take this personally. I own it. This is Christ revealing this truth within me. It's already here. It's already who I am. Because of the discomfort and and the tug of war between the evolving soul and the human ego, which demands to look good rather than be good, and yet cannot bear the thought that it may never be imperfect. I'm sorry, that it may ever be imperfect. See, that perfect's another word. Long, long ago, long before the letters, science of mind, everything, long, long ago, I realized that perfection is the way it is, period. That's it. Perfect is a statistical term, you know, and there's this part of our population who thinks perfect is, and they demand these morals that most people do not adhere to, even those that are making them can't adhere to them. So why are they making laws of that which is a human conditioning that Christ said, that Jesus taught us? He who is without sin cast the first stone. So how can I make laws for sins that is part of our human nature? I mean, that to me is just so obviously ridiculous that it's ridiculous. Christ has a better way. Okay, so anyway, there are, because of the discomfort and the tug of war between the evolving soul and the ego drive, few people receiving inspiration and passing on to others at this time who will speak about the need to go through a period of inner cleansing. And that's what the transition of lower conscious higher. We've got to purify ourselves. We've got to realize that the spirit of me has never done anything wrong, has never seen anything wrong. The spirit of me is just acting through what I'm telling it to do. And it's the life of me that does it. So that's the inner cleansing. And we can forgive ourselves in a moment, just saying everything I've done in my life to bring me to this point. I'm grateful I've done it. I'm grateful that any hurt that has been imposed from this has not been intentional, and trusting that those that have been hurt are receiving some gift from that as I have received from the hurt that I have caused. So we all evolve to a higher level of accepting one another as brothers and sisters with pure unconditional love. Modern people are conditioned to instant service, instant light, instant heat, instant food, instant drink, instant clothes, and instant entertainment, and therefore are not attracted to a truth which involves self-sacrifice, hard work, and total dedication to the goal. We're also a society that throws away. We want quick, and we throw away many times needlessly without concern for what impact is this having on the total environment, the totality of humanity, and our living support system that keeps us alive. Besides which, many of those teachers are making a good deal of money out of their activities, and they must present a truth that will sell. The only truth my wife and I present is love yourself, and that's a spiritual truth. So, and if you're part of an organization that would like to have us come, we're awesome because we're living all that Christ is telling us in these letters. We're living it to the degree that we understand it. We're always learning more and becoming more. That's why we teach, because our students become our teachers. And as we are their teachers, they are ours. If you're truly on the upward path to the highest spiritual dimensions, your road will be characterized by moments of bright, clear-sighted self-inspection and self-realization, followed frequently by self-loathing. This dark and painful feeling is a magnetic emotion in reverse, but we're overcoming it. We're creating a new energy force field. Where before the ego clung to the essential vision of itself as being the greatest and even greater than others, it now begins to glimpse the agonizing fact that perhaps it is not only slightly, but very imperfect. Any person reaching this spiritual level of development finds they are now traveling the road to true humility. I apologize. I had a long pause, almost the whole day, the way the day unfolded between where I ended this morning and it's now 10 o'clock. So I apologize. I hope you've fast forwarded so you pick up the rest of the message. So I'm going to read the paragraph before because I want to review it since I've been away for so long. Where before, the ego clung to its essential vision of itself as being the greatest and even greater than others, it now begins to glimpse the agonizing fact that perhaps it is not only slightly, but very imperfect. Any person reaching the spiritual level of development will find they are now traveling the road to true humility. When we get that puff nothingness out of the way, take heart when you find this happening to you. You are now pushing away the debris of past erroneous beliefs about yourself and your illusory selfhood. Remember that it is your intention or motivation or conviction which gives creative power to do whatever you want to do. The moment that you desire with all your heart to reverse your normal trend in your magnetic emotional patterns, you have set this process in motion. That's why it's important to think of us as energy. Form, yes, but think of us as energy, If you clearly define the goals you wish to achieve and keep them ever before your vision in writing or in mind, or both, very shortly, you'll discover that the desired changes have taken place in your consciousness. Hallelujah. And reading these letters makes that so easily. All we have to do is read the letters, Christ says. And be in community if we can find a community to be in. When this happens, you'll feel a lightness in spirit and will have moments of pure joy. You will be proving that the truth of being does bring captive hearts into the perfect freedom of spiritual living. Know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. At the same time, you have to understand that your ego must, of necessity to enable you to survive, make you believe you're of value to yourself and other people. Any external serious challenge regarding the value of the self is highly destructive. A desperate fear and internal subsistence of confidence will lead to the conviction that you are without value in the world, and suicide can be the natural outcome. That's not my experience, so I don't really understand what Christ is saying. There's something to meditate on after this call. Therefore, your progress will and must be gradual. It's an evolution. If we try to go ahead of ourselves, which many people, we want it now, we become very impatient as this beautiful bloom is unfolding within us. We get so impatient with it, but the impatience constricts it. So we've got to be so accepting of our growth that we're just affirming our growth and not affirming that we're not there yet. We are moving there constantly and consistently. And that's why we're together, right? No one should ever expect people to be wholly changed by words of advice or times of inspiration. Growth can only take place very gradually, one insight at a time. Then we get past this critical place, if you're not already there, and it really happens very quickly and very easily, and it becomes fun because ooh, can I express peace here? Can I find peace here? Can I take control? Can I become centered? in whatever is going on, whatever's going on. And to be there all the time that we don't need it, so to speak. Same way, a true spiritual insight will imbue a person's mind with an altogether new point of view, which will enable him to begin to approach certain related circumstances in life differently. This insight must direct the person's actions until it has been absorbed completely into the consciousness for eternity and becomes part of the soul evolution. I'm going to read this paragraph, reread it, okay? And I'm going to read it just as it's written here. A true, except I'm going to put it in present tense, instead of it will imbue in the future. Why there it's happening right now. We are receiving spiritual insights all the time through these letters, so that's why I do it in the present tense. A true spiritual insight imbues a person's mind with an altogether new point of view. This new point of view enables him to begin to approach certain related circumstances in life differently. This insight must direct the person's attention until it has been absorbed completely into the consciousness. For eternity, it becomes part of the soul evolution. So becoming more Christ-like. Every time we get the truth, we're allowing more of the Christ of us, the Spirit of us, the Father of us, the God essence of us, the Buddhist, the whatever it is, highest being can be. It's that consciousness coming from within because it knows who and what it is. Okay. Grace gives us an interesting example here of ego. For instance, a man may have the idea that he will be successful in life if he enforces his will aggressively on those who come within his orbit. He believes he will be better heard if he shouts. Then he may wake up to the fact that no one likes him much, and he is avoided by employees and friends. He may become more aggressive because he now feels humiliated, or if he is an evolving soul, he will question what he can do about his isolation. Asking questions in meditative is how we get the answers. The moment that divine life seeps into his consciousness psyche and makes him realize that he himself avoids people who shout, he will have a flash of inspiration. He will realize that to be happy and successful, he should treat others as he likes to be treated. You may argue that this perception is not necessarily inspired, but is born of common sense, that he himself was responsible for arriving at this realization. However, this is not so. Ego thoughts are dictated solely by the bonding rejection impulses. Any new wisdom comes from loving intelligence. And we know the feeling, the feeling that goes with that aha or that inspiration. This may be the last inspired flash of insight he will ever have. But if he is truly on a spiritual path and seeking the highest dimensions of attainment, he will gradually perceive that this first overcoming of the ego is not enough. He will begin to see that other previously unsuspected selfish patterns of behavior. Sorry, that's a period. He will begin to see other previously unsuspected selfish patterns of behavior. Once we open our ears, we hear. We begin looking at ourselves through other people to kind of as a mirror. I heard the class I went to tonight. He will define a further goal just out of reach of that moment. But very shortly, with prayer and meditation, he will have achieved that goal also. In this way, his consciousness frequencies of vibration will be elevated, and he gradually moves towards the celestial kingdoms of consciousness, the kingdom of heaven, the era of love and peace and joy. Alternatively, a woman may only feel secure, by not disturbing the present status quo. She is afraid to speak out when treated with a lack of respect. Such a meek person, while more comfortable taking refuge in silence, will also suffer deep resentments because people do not respect her passive personality. Such people usually turn to religion for comfort and for reassurance. And because of non-comprehension of the laws of existence, she will probably remain static in her meekness till the end of her time on earth. Indeed, because of my words recorded in the Gospels, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, the Church has taught that meekness is to be commended. She may feel that her meekness is the way to the light. However, if the meek little lady should find the truth concerning her being, and she should find the right way to make contact with universal consciousness, she will eventually be told inwardly and clearly that spiritually she is the equal of everyone, as we all are. She is the equal of everyone else. She will be inspired to express herself well. She will be given the strength to speak her truth in a more confident and attractive way. People will begin to respect this new person, and she will be manifesting the inner spiritual development gained during her time spent in meditation. We're going to stop there. This is where we stopped Tuesday. But these examples are very important because it is a gradual process. You know, many of us have gone through many jobs in our career. We may have even changed careers. We have had relationships that have developed, fallen apart perhaps, and others developed, and some remained constant and consistent. So this whole teaching of Christ during this reading has been about the evolution from giving power to the physical realm and raising our consciousness through the letters, through being with each other, raising our consciousness to the place where, you know, Jesus showed us what it would be like. And that's all I can use as an example. You know, I just see that Jesus walked through the streets with peace and calm and just hate everyone, and everyone's his brother and sister, and he sees nothing wrong. He doesn't see evil. You know, if something so-called bad is going on, I don't think he involved himself in it unless he were guided to, you know, speak in those times. But, you know, I think Jesus went through life just enjoying, you know, and that's when we're living love. That's what we're doing. We are enjoying life just the way it is. We don't have to change it. We just say, wow, that's interesting, you know. So thank you for joining me. I know this was a very wordy time, and part of me apologizes for it, but I enjoyed hearing what I was hearing, what I was learning, or we were learning together. So thank you for being a part of my growth, my awareness, and be blessed the rest of this day, this week, this month, this year. The year of peace on earth. Bye for now.